Infinite Warfare Zombie. What's up everyone, General Ether here, and today we are going to be taking a look at all 5 Infinite Warfare Zombie maps, and we'll be reviewing each and every single one. Now if you've been with this channel for a while now, you might know about my huge love for Infinite Warfare Zombies. This zombie season was not only the only zombie season I stuck with from DLC 1 to DLC 4, but it was also the one that revived my love for the mode to begin with, and it is easily one of, if not the best gaming experience I've ever had. But maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. I should start from the beginning. In the event I have officially labeled as the Zombies Renaissance, every Call of Duty game was receiving a Zombies mode at that point that had only been exclusive to Treyarch. So the new Call of Duty studio, Sledgehammer, put a Zombies mode in their first Call of Duty game, Advanced Warfare. It went under the name Exo Zombies, which was extremely reminiscent of Treyarch's zombie mode. After that, Treyarch released Black Ops 3, which of course only continued the Zombies mode everyone already knew and loved. Then, shortly after the announcement of Infinite Warfare back in April of 2016, Infinity Ward announced that they were going to attempt their own iteration of the highly well-received Zombies mode. And on August 16, 2016, the trailer for Infinite Warfare Zombies released, showcasing a upbeat and not at all serious tone and style. I remember watching this trailer on the day of its release and being both scared and strangely excited. Then on November 4th, 2016, the game was released for people to finally play, but I didn't start playing it until December 25th, which is when I got the game for Christmas. At the time, I wasn't really into zombies as much as I am nowadays, so I was more into the campaign of IW than I was the zombies portion. But you best bet I still think the campaign of Infinite is amazing. Then my internet went off for about 2 weeks. I had finished the campaign, so there wasn't really anything to play, except for one thing in particular. Zombies in Spaceland. I played the crap out of this map, developing new strategies, unlocking the one weapons, and trying day and night on the Easter egg until I completed it one Friday evening. All while this was going on, I had transformed myself from a disinterested noob to an overly obsessed experienced player. It goes without saying, but I loved this map. What about the community? Well, you're familiar with how COD fans work. Anything that tries to be innovative or ambitious that isn't Treyarch, never mind, gets instantly hated on for no reason at all, and Infinite Warfare was no exception. This included the Zombies mode, and with every risky decision being instantly hated and every classic aspect being labeled as a ripoff of Treyarch, due to the community's determination to despise this game, there was absolutely no way Infinity Ward could please anyone. However, now that the unneeded hate has subsided, people are now looking back fondly at Infinite Warfare Zombies, which is really nice to see. Not only that, but the game has developed a cult following, including yours truly. And with Black Ops Cold War coming right around the corner, what better time to do a retrospective? Let's start with Zombies in Spaceland.
Welcome. You've all been chosen to play a unique role in my return to the big screen, my killer comeback. But I'll warn you now, my methods tend to be a little extreme.
Zombies in Spaceland is a map that takes place in the 1980s inside of a corny amusement park. Now, while the map doesn't look super realistic like the maps featured in Black Ops 3 and World War II, the IW maps absolutely excel in style, utilizing the location in the absolute best ways possible. Zombies in Spaceland is easily the most colorful zombies map ever to release. Mix that with the multiple stores, games, and rides featured in the map, and you have yourself a location that feels like an authentic amusement park. Not only that, but things are just as great when it comes to the soundtrack. All original in-game tracks put into this map have such a retro 1980s feel. And there's also a built-in radio in the map that plays 1980 classics that slaps you back into that time period. Another thing is the intros and outros featured in Infinite Warfare are animated in a goofy, cartoony fashion, which upset a lot of people who thought this style was too childish. While I see where they're coming from, I personally love this approach. Not only does it only add to the style of IW the devs were going for, but also gives this season its own unique feel and style. And it's a breath of fresh air from all the dark and gritty zombie seasons. You guys know I love my dramatic storytelling, but IW is a nice break from all of that, and it does its own thing, which is not only cool, but it's just so admirable. So yeah, on the presentation side of things, Zombies in Spaceland rocks. Now let's get into the map layout. While Zombies in Spaceland is a big map, it does an excellent job at feeling bigger than it actually is. This is because the map's insane amount of different locations. From Spawn, to Kepler, to Journey, to the arcade, to the top of Polar Peak, to the underground areas, the devs makes this map feel like an actual amusement park with so much exploration available. Not only that, but in terms of spacing, Zombies in Spaceland is great in that area too. There's enough room to make each interior room manageable in tight situations. There's also many shortcuts and alternative pathways that make situations like reviving other players pretty possible, which is an issue seen in other large maps like Origins and Blood. So yeah, not only does this map feel like a grand adventure, but it has enough space to be overall fair, making it a perfect layout for a Zombies map. As far as innovations go, Zombies in Spaceland does a great job in that front too. Starting with innovations that remain staples throughout the series, first are the variations of Treyarch's Gobblegums, Fate and Fortune cards. Most of the cards have the same abilities from Treyarch's Gobblegums, except this time you don't have to rely on RNG, and you can choose what ability you want to use at any time, which makes for smarter plays and actual strategies way more convenient. Second is Double Pack, but I'll cover that later. Other than that, things like Pack, the Mystery Wheel, Traps, and Perks are all classic staples in the Zombies formula. Now starting with the map exclusively, I guess I'll start with the 4 Wonder Weapons. Each of these weapons are pretty easy to use once you get the hang of their individual upgrade quests. There's the Shredder, which evaporates multiple zombies in one shot, the Discord that causes a zombie to go into a deadly breakdance that kills other zombies, the Face Melter that shoots a zombie into the sky like a firework that blows up and harms other zombies in the area, and the Head Cutter that makes a zombie's head blow up and emit an infectious gas that makes other zombies undergo the same fate. Now the thing about these weapons is the fact that they are pretty decent in rounds 1 through 30, however once they start going to the late 30s, they start becoming utterly useless, which makes going for them kinda discouraging. But one really good thing is to go for the Arcane Core, a upgrade for any gun that does additional damage to zombies. The Arcane Core is obtainable after getting multiple traps and kills throughout the map, which yes, is repetitious and tedious, but is definitely rewarding since the Arcane Core is really useful. And there's also the ticket system. In this map, there are multiple arcade games you can play, and I don't know how Infinity Ward made it fun to play games inside of a game, but it is, since Zombies in Spaceland includes a full playable arcade and other various minigames such as a freaking roller coaster, which allows you to get more tickets, which you can also obtain by getting traps or completing challenges. You can use these tickets to purchase multiple useful gadgets, such as a ammo refill or an entirely new Wonder Weapon. It's not good though. On the enemy side of things, there's the specialist zombie in this map, which is the Brute. A giant zombie that will rush you and shoot a freaking laser at you. Despite his intimidating appearance and moveset, the Brute is actually not that difficult if you're properly armed. If not, he's still relatively easy as long as you keep your distance. So yeah, that about does it for the major innovations Zombies in Spaceland has to offer. There's a great number of things in this map that will keep you busy, and Infinity Ward held nothing back in the creative department. As for the difficulty, this map is easily the most balanced out of Infinite Warfare's catalog, which is what any default Zombies map should be. It's challenging enough to keep the map interesting, but it's not cheap in the slightest. What can I say, it's pretty fair. I guess we should discuss the story of IW. Essentially, 4 actors have signed up to star in a Willard Wyler film, which have a reputation for having great gore and gnarly kills. Once they meet the man himself, who's making a great comeback from a long break, he has them seated in a theater where after performing a blood sacrifice, the 4 stars are sucked into Willard Wyler's old zombie film, Zombies in Spaceland. The 4 characters, Andre, AJ, Poindexter, and Sally, are all in classic 1980s outfits, and their personalities have been altered to sync in with their actual roles. I really like this setup. The wild nature of the story perfectly fits the bizarre tone IW wears proudly, and the idea to have multiple maps take place inside of classic films is genius, since it opens the door to an infinite amount of possibilities for new locations. And the amount of mystery that's set up is also a classic Call of Duty Zombies driving force for the story. Now time for the Easter egg. Zombies in Spaceland has a pretty simplistic yet fun Easter egg. All you're doing is defending a device known as the Steadicom 3 times, but each time, the time you need to defend it for has an additional 30 seconds, meaning the first time is easy, the second time is tricky, and the third time is nearly impossible. One thing I don't like about the Steadicoms is the fact that you cannot complete them without a packed Kindle. If you try, you will fail, but these steps are still very possible if you know what you're doing. After that, in a quick thing of Simon Says, it's boss fight time. If you're doing this Easter egg solo, the boss is considerably challenging, but still very doable if you're experienced. However, Infinity Ward thought it would be a great idea to add another boss for every player that's in your game, meaning if you have 4 players, you fight 4 aliens, which is impossible. This completely discourages me from helping friends do the Easter egg. I think a better system would have been to have 1 alien for 1 or 2 players and have 2 aliens for 3 or more players. But 4? Nah. Anyways, to fight with the alien or aliens, you finally destroy the UFO and grab a piece of the soul key. A lot of people complain about the fact that there's no outro cutscene for Spaceland like completing the Easter egg, completely ignoring the fact that besides the short one in Shadows, no default map has ever had an outro cutscene before. Remember this for later. And after the Easter egg, you were rewarded with Double Pack, but not the one from BO3. No, this Double Pack completely ups your damage and weapon capacity to an insane degree, making this Easter egg one that's worth going for. And don't get me started on a packed version of the wind weapons, they're out of this world. Get it? Cause you're in Spaceland? Anyway, while the Easter egg isn't something amazing, it's still a great start to a great zombie season. In conclusion, Zombies in Spaceland is without exaggeration a perfect COD zombie map. Its presentation is visually creative and fun, the layout is grand and structured nicely, there's enough innovation to make it stand out, the difficulty is completely fair and balanced, the story is a nice setup, and the Easter egg is while not interesting, still a fun ride. It is no wonder this map is looked back on as an underrated gem, and I'm giving Zombies in Spaceland without any regrets a 5 out of 5.
I don't know about you guys, but at least we aren't in that demented theme park anymore.
Yo, shut up, eh? I heard something. Listen.
Oh, shit, man. We got zombies again.
You have got to be kidding me, man.
On January 24th, 2017, the official trailer for Infinite Warfare's first DLC Zombies map and the second Zombies map the game has to offer, Raven the Redwoods, released. This map was marketed really strongly leading up to its release date, and on January 31st, the map was available to play. And it received a lot of praise by those who actually gave the map a shot. But what about me? Do I think of this map fondly as well? Or do I think it's not as good as most say? Well, let's find out. Going off of the stereotypical classic movie genre settings formula, a map that reveled in corny 1980s slasher horror flicks was kinda inevitable, and that is what Raven Redwoods is, and I think it does a great job. Set in a typical summer camp heavily reminiscent of horror locations such as Camp Crystal Lake from the Friday the 13th films, the camp is really fleshed out with spooky trees, abandoned cabins, and other obvious abandoned party locations. I might have a heavy bias for this type of style since I am personally a huge fan of cheesy 1980s slashers, but I really love the presentation here. Not only that, but there's a feature in this map known as Rave Mode, which is something I'll talk about in more detail later, but once you get into it, the map is instantly more colorful and vibrant. And the amount of detail put into this mode is insane, with nearly every part of the map having a new colorful design. Basically with this mode, there's basically 2 ways to look at the map. One is dark and spooky, and the other is super colorful and vibrant. This is something never done before in Zombies, and I think this map will go down in history for having 2 entirely different ways to view the map. So yeah, I think the campy 1980s horror atmosphere is something Raven the Redwoods nails, and having the map turn super colorful once the character gets stoned is a brilliant concept, and it was executed flawlessly. Now as for map layout, Rave's layout is nice, but it's a considerable downgrade from Zombies in Spaceland. First off, there's spacing. In Zombies in Spaceland, every area felt manageable because the spacing was fair, and if you wanted to, on high rounds you can travel around the map and take out zombies while exploring without having to rely on a training spot. However, on Rave, it feels like a BO3 map, with every area that's not a training spot being too narrow or cramped to support moving around on high rounds. Basically what I'm trying to say is it feels like a map that supports training as opposed to any other strategy. And the fact that this map has 3 training spots, of one of which that gives the keynote stage a run for its money, doesn't help. And then there's also size. Rave is easily the smallest map in IW Zombies, and if not, then it certainly feels that way with a small number of different locations. And plus, unlike its predecessor, Rave has nearly no shortcuts to get to certain places in the map, so things like reviving other players or doing side quests and Easter eggs are way less convenient. So yeah, while this map layout is fine, it does fall short in some places. However, Rave in the Redwoods does have some new things to offer. Starting off with small things, one thing Rave does, which is a super improvement on Spaceland, is make Double Pack-a-Punch way more accessible. As a reward for people who did Spaceland's Easter egg, Double Pack on Rave was automatically made available. Not only that, but after completing Rave's Easter egg, double packing was a permanent addition, meaning unlike Spaceland, you didn't have to redo the Easter egg over and over again every time you wanted to double pack. Now for the wonder weapons. Similar to the Eisendrache, Rave has a base wonder weapon you can obtain, which is just a regular crossbow that's not really useful. However, once you complete one of 4 easy quests, you're rewarded an upgraded version of the weapon, with there being a total of 4 upgraded iterations. There's the Trap-O-Matic, which is easily my least favorite one. It's good if you're patient and know how to use it, but compared to the other 3 weapons, there's really no reason to go for it. There's the Ben Franklin, which shoots lightning down on zombies, and this weapon should be really good, but it loses its effectiveness on high rounds. Second is the Whirlwind EF5, which is my personal favorite, which blows herds away. Think of it as a slightly less effective thunder gun due to the fact it's not instant damage. And the Acid Rain, which causes acid to fall down and annihilate herds. The Whirlwind and Acid Rain are obviously the best, but each of these weapons are pretty good and are definitely rewarding. Rave also introduces some new traps, such as my favorite, the Balloon Trap. As for sub-bosses, the Dog Round is now comprised of Sasquatches who are pretty tough, but if you're properly armed, they're not a problem. Now that I mention it, I forgot to comment on the clowns from Spaceland. Yeah, they're alright. And finally, there's Rave Mode. In Rave Mode, you're able to complete certain side quests, get additional points, and marvel at a gorgeous version of the map. However, if you enter Rave Mode past Scene 9, then you'll meet the brute of the map, the Slasher, who is absolutely unkillable and does present a great deal of danger. Rave Mode, like I said before, is a super cool addition, but on higher rounds, there's really no reason to enter Rave Mode. You don't need the extra points since they're already set up, then you should be done with completing all the side quests by then, and the Slasher would just be an unnecessary hazard. So while Rave Mode is great, it's unfortunately pretty useless on high rounds. So yeah, while Rave isn't the most ambitious map out there, it's still packed with new features that help it stand out. As for the difficulty, I'm just gonna flat out say it, Rave in the Redwoods might just be the easiest COD Zombies maps I've ever played. It's probably second to Kino der Toten or Ascension. Well, yeah, just Kino. I know I said it has narrow spacing, but none of that matters if you find yourself on the Pack Island armed with a Mauler Sentinel and a Whirlwind or Acid Rain. And plus, the boot of the map is completely optional, so your only threat is zombies and a few Sasquatches here and there. Yeah, this map is pretty darn easy. Now let's actually get into the story of Rave in the Redwoods. After surviving the first of Willard Wyler's films, Willard gets frustrated and sends them to another one of his movies, Rave in the Redwoods. Once they arrive, we see that their personalities have once again been altered to fit the 1990s. Sally is a tough hood girl, AJ is a rapper, Andre is a chill stoner, and Poindexter is a rave kid. A lot of people complain that the fact that these characters' personalities constantly change throughout the zombie season means we don't get to get attached to them as actual people, and that is a valid point. But this is a game about random celebrities being sucked into horror movies where they're forced to battle the undead. I'm not really too upset about the lack of character development, because this is a game that necessarily doesn't need any. And plus, having the characters' personalities blend into the settings of each map helps further cement the atmosphere and also allows for some creative and fun decisions. Anyways, they meet the celebrity of the map, Kevin Smith, who's lost his memory, and the characters volunteer to collect what I guess are photos to give him to re-jog his memory. We learn that Kevin Smith and his friend Jay were huge fans of Willard Wyler's movies, and one day they got to see the man in person. But then we figure out that Willard sent them into this movie where they had to survive against the undead. However, Kevin one day transformed into the Slasher and killed Jay. So yeah, Kevin Smith is the Slasher, and once our characters inform him of the news, he's not really too happy about it.
No, this has got to be a fucking mistake. I didn't kill him. I couldn't have killed him. Oh man, Jay, man. Jay, I gotta get out of here. I gotta find Jay. Jay!
And then he emerges from the water as the Super Slasher, just go with it. And he attacks our characters but is defeated, and reveals the second piece of the soul key. Our characters pick it up and are transported to the third map, which is revealed to be set in the 70s. And yeah, that was the main story of Rave in the Redwoods, and it does a pretty good job for what it is. The twist that Kevin was the slasher was one I genuinely didn't expect, and it was a nice play on the whole twist killer trend featured in campy slasher movies. We also find out another information on the map. Not only do we hear multiple different stories of people who got sent to die on this map, but we also find out that following the death of Willard's wife, he sent his own daughter to die in this movie after a feud. This really gives you a lot of insight into Willard's character, since not only does he genuinely grieve for his wife, but him sending countless teens to their death, including his own daughter, shows how truly evil he is. So this map actually fleshes out Willard Wyler pretty well. Now time to talk about the actual Easter egg quest. Yeah, it's kinda boring. Similar to Spaceland, there's 3 rituals you have to do, all of which composed of shooting the body parts of zombies. Sure, the arm one is super finicky, but the legs and heads ones are super easy, and so is the boss fight. While Spaceland was just as simplistic, at least that map is balanced, meaning while it's not hard, it was still a considerable challenge. Not Rave though, it's probably the easiest COD Zombies Easter egg of all time, and once you complete it, you unlock the Smiley, the slasher's wonder weapon, and it was initially pretty good, but people found easy exploits with it, causing it to be nerfed to the ground, rendering it useless. So yeah, that's not really a point in doing this Easter egg unlike Spaceland. In conclusion, Rave in the Redwoods is a pretty solid map. It looks great visually, it nails its atmosphere, the wonder weapons are a lot of fun with the exception of the Smiley, there's a lot of intriguing story info and the layout is okay. But it's held back due to the fact it's way too easy and the Easter egg is lackluster. Rave in the Redwoods is still a good map and it earns a 4 out of 5.
This January, dance like somebody's watching.
From the rave to the grave.
Like a boss.
You dead now, Holmes?
Rave in the Redwoods.
I guess I didn't know.
On April 4th, 2017, the second DLC to IW Zombies and the third map in the game, Shaolin Shuffle, was announced. And like the outro to Rave promised, the map was set to be in the good old 70s, and not only that, but the map was also to be set in the big city. Shaolin Shuffle released to mixed reception in the general community, but it still remains a favorite to people still fans of IW. So is this map an underrated gem? Or was the community justified to give up on IW after this map's release? Well, let's find out. Starting out with the visual side of things, Shaolin Shuffle competes with Spaceland for having the best visuals in the game. Shaolin Shuffle goes for a dirty 1970s New York City's vibe, and the movie theme of the map is karate. Surprisingly, karate and the dirty New York City kinda mix really well, making the atmosphere of the map more unique than anything. It has a heavy Ninja Turtles vibe with what the sewers, rats, martial arts weapons, and New York setting. But that's just the atmosphere. I'm a huge fan of colorful cities, and Shaolin Shuffle is just that, with many vibrant interior locations and a very detailed city with graffiti everywhere, trash filling the streets, and completely disgusting subways and sewers. Like the past 2 maps, Infinite Warfare completely nails it when it comes to atmosphere and style, and this map is especially beautiful. Well, as beautiful as a 1970s Gotham can be. Now map layout. While Shaolin Shuffle doesn't quite reach the mastery of Spaceland on this front, it's still a good improvement on Rave. Shaolin Shuffle doesn't rely on training spots to make a fair, manageable zombies map. In fact, there's only one good training spot in the entire map. Most of the areas are manageable on high rounds, and the only place that could get you easily cornered are interior areas like the club or sewer tunnels. What I'm trying to say is basically this map is one of those maps you can make loops around in constant action as opposed to relying on camping or training. The only complaint I have is this map's size. Now remember, for a general zombies map, Shaolin Shuffle is decently sized, but since this is a city map, you would think it would be just a little bigger. I hate comparing Shaolin Shuffle to Shadows of Evil since they're two different beasts entirely, but one similarity they do share is setting. And in Shadows of Evil, there are so many areas and pathways to the point where you feel like you're in an actual city. However, in Shaolin Shuffle, you don't really get that feeling. Like I said, the map is decently sized, but it just doesn't give you that grand sense of exploration a map set in the big city should have. So yeah, the map looks great and it's overall decently sized. I just wish it was just a little bigger. Now time for the innovations this map brings. If you've never played this map before, you're probably wondering how it embraces its karate theme. Well, what better way than gameplay? Yeah, you heard me right, Infinity Ward created a karate zombies map. Once you reach Scene 5, you're allowed to choose one of 4 chi styles, which will grant you a variety of melee abilities such as karate moves, ninja throwing stars, and 2 overpowered special moves exclusive to your specific chi. You'll unlock your later abilities the more you use your chi, which helps balance the map. I really like this chi system. Not only is it balanced due to it working somewhat like a specialist, but it's a lot of fun using karate moves on zombies, and it can be really useful until like round 40. Also, keeping the karate theme is the nunchucks, and one weapon you can obtain by doing a OK side quest. What's really cool is that once you unlock it once, you can get it straight from the reel immediately on every game you play afterwards, which is so freaking cool. This weapon is pretty strong and will last you into insane high rounds. Well, obviously it has to be packed, but the weapon is still pretty strong even without pack. Also, I'm completely aware that there's another melee weapon on this map that makes the nunchucks look like child's play, but I'll cover that on the Easter egg segment. Now time for sub-bosses. The dog rounds of this map are in this form of roller skating zombies who, like the clowns from Spaceland, explode on impact. However, they're still extremely easy to deal with as long as you keep your distance. The same cannot be said for the other enemy type on the map. These guys are the sole reason I didn't go for high rounds on the map, and they are the most broken, annoying, poorly implemented zombie ever put into a zombies map. Well, maybe not as bad as the EMP zombie from Exo Zombies. Anyways, I'm talking about ninja zombies.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
These guys nearly ruined the entire map for me. Okay, so where in the road do I start? I guess with the fact that they can insta 3-hit you, meaning if you don't have Jug, you're automatically dead. Also, they teleport in front of you even if you are sprinting with stamina, meaning if you're out of ammo and you can't defend yourself, you're dead. They might as well be real ninjas since they will kill you in a moment's notice completely by surprise. I will admit the idea of ninja zombies is pretty funny, but the execution is just way too sloppy. The last new thing this map has is a new perk by the name of Deadeye Dewdrops. It's basically a reskin of Deadshot Daiquiri from Trail Zombies, but the fact that they added a new perk at all is pretty awesome. And that about does it for the new stuff this map has to offer. The innovations this map brings is really cool and helps this map really stand out. Now as for the difficulty, it depends on what round. From round 1 to 30, I'd say this map is pretty balanced, but once ninja zombies start spawning in, things get really difficult. I'm telling you man, these ninja zombies ruin everything. Now time to get into some story stuff. The thing that I like about this map is the fact that there's a movie story going on alongside the actual story. Basically, a man by the name of Arthur McIntosh was discovered to have used stolen bank money to fund his own personal adventures, and now an investigation is pinned on him. McIntosh hides out in a rat-infested sewer, and with his life now in ruins, he desperately drinks a strange serum that mutates him into the Rat King. Meanwhile, a zombie outbreak happens above ground, and a battle between Pam Grier, the celebrity of the map who's now a karate sensei, and the Rat King and his army of the undead begins. All 4 characters arrive in the movie, and like last time, their personalities have been altered to fit the time period. Point Dexter is a 1970s punk, Sally is a disco girl, and I have no idea what Andre and AJ are supposed to be. Anyways, they meet up with Pam Grier, who guides them to master the chi and obtain the Rat King's heart, brain, and eyes that they use to defeat him in the final battle of the map. Pam Grier slays the Rat King, and she leaves her katana as a parting gift for our characters before peacing out.
Damn, she was badass.
Yeah, too bad she isn't coming along for the ride.
All I know is if we catch her on the flip side, I'm calling dibs.
And with that, our characters obtain the 3rd piece of the soul key and are teleported to the next film, which is set in the 1960s. And that's the main plot of Shaolin Shuffle, and it's a pretty decent story. It's bizarre, hilarious, and strangely epic. Not only that, but by doing the Nunchuck side quest, you can learn all 4 individual backgrounds to each of our 4 main playable characters. I'm not going to get into the backgrounds to each of the characters since they don't relate to any plot details or character development. In fact, they were kind of unneeded, but they're still a really nice addition. It helps us actually find out who these guys are as people. So yeah, just like Raven the Redwood, Shaolin Shuffle has a fun main story while also giving us side details that help flesh out the main characters in the overall plot. Now time for the Easter egg. Infinity Ward learned their lesson from how primitive Spaceland and Rave's Easter eggs were, so with this Easter egg they wanted to make things more complex. How complex? Well, you have to unlock your chi, follow 5 rats around the map, open a locker, shoot 4 symbols, fight the Rat King once, search for 5 symbols of 13 possible locations, decipher a number code from a phone's beeping, find a corresponding poster, then spell out a word in Morse code with over 60 possible words, fight the Rat King a second time, survive 3 rounds, shoot a symbol, fill 5 circles with zombie kills, do a tedious disco step, fight the Rat King a 3rd time, then load into the boss fight. That may not sound like a lot, but trust me, it is. I admire this Easter egg for its length and complexity, but my god is it tedious. Not only that, but this Easter egg is literally impossible to do off memory. You always have to have some sort of image put up every time you do it. Yeah, this Easter egg kinda sucks. A lot. But hey, at least it's worth it, since after you complete it, you get Pam Grier as a playable character, and you get access to Pam's katana every match for 10k. And this weapon is possibly the best non-specialist melee weapon put into a COD zombie game. It shreds. So yeah, the Easter egg leaves a lot to be desired, but the reward you get from completing it is pretty awesome. In conclusion, Shaolin Shuffle is a pretty decent map. It looks great, it's a lot of fun, designed nicely, and has a good story for what the game is. But the ninja zombies are broken and the Easter egg is very annoying. Shaolin Shuffle is a great map and it earns a 4 out of 5.
Vermin to kill. Blood to spill. No time to chill.
Here I come, baby. Damn, man.
Shaolin Shuffle.
Oh man, who the hell turned off all the color?
I'll give you one guess.
Willard!
Bingo.
Surprise, surprise.
The 3rd DLC of Infinite Warfare and the first map of the season, Attack of the Radioactive Thing, was announced on June 7th, 2017 and was released on the day of. Yeah, just like Day of the Night, this map received barely any marketing. Anyways, the map came out and the overall response to it was mixed. However, unlike Shaolin, this map is kinda understandable since this is easily my least favorite map in the game. Man, what is it with DLC 3s? Anyways, why is Attack my least favorite map out of the bunch? Well, let's find out. Well, technically it's you finding out, but whatever, let's start. The style this map goes for is that of a typical 1960s monster disaster movie, and like always, I think that's an awesome idea. However, unlike Spaceland, Rave, or Shaolin, this map doesn't look all that colorful or vibrant. I mean, it looks bright, but you wanna know what other game looks bright? Modern Warfare 2019, the most flavorless, lack of style Call of Duty game I've ever looked at. Not to say Attack is that, but it's just because it's bright and sunny doesn't necessarily make it look colorful. It's still a good looking map, but compared to its 3 predecessors, it just lacks pizzazz, if that makes sense. However, I can say that the classical buildings, cars, the reactive waste everywhere, and a giant freaking monster in the ocean helps bring out that 1960s monster movie feel. Now, technically, Attack is probably the biggest map in the game, yet it somehow feels like the smallest due to the lack of areas and the fact that the map is basically one giant circle, the middle of it being filled with unplayable space. On the bright side, this map also doesn't require you to train or camp in order to get to high rounds just like Spaceland and Shaolin, but the layout is just so boring with a lack of interesting locations. Now let's go over the new stuff in this map. One cool thing this map brings is a new perk. Yes, a new perk. Not a reskin of one of Treyarch's. Change Shoes. Basically, once equipped, a random shot from your gun will probably emit a elemental attack that will damage other zombies. It's actually a pretty useful perk. However, my favorite part about it is the perk jingle.
Roll the dice with fire and ice. Thank you, Change Shoes. Clean that clock for one heck of a shot. Thank you, Change Shoes.
Now onto the Wonder Weapon. the Modular Atomic Disintegrator, or the MAD for short. I had to Google that name. Not because it's a long name or because I rarely play this map, because while it's my least played map, I've still poured countless hours into it. No, the real reason is because I go out of my way to avoid this garbage weapon. Yeah, a Infinite Warfare Zombies wonder weapon is bad. All these years later, and I'm still having trouble believing it, but it's true. On one hand, it's a one-shot, on the other hand, it only has a total of 15 shots, 30 upgraded, and its range sucks. So basically, you're dealing with 33 kills before you run out of ammo. On the bright side, you can refill ammo by draining radioactive goop from Krog eggs, but that still doesn't change the fact that this weapon is boring to use, and most double-packed weapons are preferable over it. The side bosses of the map are Krogs, and not only do they fit nicely with the 1960 monster atmosphere, but they are also nice to go against since they do shake up the gameplay of the map without feeling like a nuisance. Unlike their older brother, the Brute of the map. I don't know their names, so let's call them Kroots. Kroots are the sub-boss of the map, and they can blind your screen, crawl under the sand, and dig their way to you, and can instantly make you red. These things are annoying, and a MAD can thankfully one-shot them, which makes me forgive it of all its sins. So yeah, that's everything new this map adds. Even though this map has a hard sub-boss and a bad one weapon, it's still easier than Spaceland and Shaolin. It has way more training spots than Spaceland, and it doesn't have the inclusion of ninja zombies, so it's a pretty easy map if you know what you're doing. Now, unfortunately, unlike Shaolin, this map doesn't have a movie plot to go along with the game plot. It still has bits and pieces of a backstory. Basically, a typical radioactive incident gives birth to Krogzilla that is able to self-produce mini versions of itself called Krogs. The Krogs invade the beach, and the US military is called to get involved, but they're no match for it. Before the scientists are either killed or evacuated, they come up with a successful chemical solution that could stop the destructive monster. The map begins with Elvira, another celebrity trapped in Willard's movies, narrating to the player, and this is easily the worst intro in COD Zombies history. Yes, worse than any boring, uneventful cutscene in World War II, and worse than the 3-minute intro in Dead of the Night where the characters just look around awkwardly. This intro is the cringiest thing I've seen in COD Zombies. It's literally just Elvira making unfunny joke after unfunny joke after unfunny joke.
You know, I have to say, when I said I wanted a part in one of Willard's movies, I didn't mean permanently. Sheesh, a gal shows a little interest, and the next thing you know, they're putting you up on our shelf. What is it with the men in my afterlife? I mean, I bent over backwards to give this thing a rewrite, which is odd because usually bending over forward is so much more useful.
After that nightmare, we see our characters arrive in the map, and their personalities have yet again been altered. Andre is a US soldier, AJ is a chill biker, Sally is a businesswoman, and Poindexter is a scientist. The four characters come across Elvira, who helps them obtain the necessary chemical compound to apply to the nuke. After this, they have a battle with the Krogzilla, and they manage to blow it up.
Anybody want shellfish for dinner?
I'm pretty sure I'm never eating shellfish again. Ever.
Then we get a pretty promising teaser to the finale of the season where our characters are in a spaceship and Poindexter realizes they're in trouble.
Oh shit. If you guys thought the zombies were bad.
What is it? Some kind of big...
Shut up, AJ!
What? What did I say?
I love AJ. And that's it for the main story of the game, and it's meh. However, one cool thing this map does is hype up the next map in the season, which is the inevitable finale. Willard references Extinction, the alien game mode in Call of Duty Ghost, a little too much for it to not be important. Or maybe because he won't shut up in this map, and every line he says makes him out as a crybaby as opposed to an actual intimidating antagonist. So yeah, that's the story of Attack, and it does a relatively okay job at hyping up the final map in the season. Now for the Easter egg. It has an abundance of steps, tries to compete with Dead of the Night for part locations, and external sources are absolutely required in order to beat it. And I somehow still like it. Yeah, no, I like this Easter egg. Sure, there's a lot of steps, but unlike Shaolin, it doesn't feel unnecessary. You find out a chemical solution, build a nuke, form the right chemical compound, every step feels important. Not only that, but it's awesome how this Easter egg lets you build 1 out of 4 chemical solutions step by step. It makes you feel like an actual scientist. And the boss is the 3rd best boss in the game. It's fair yet challenging, exhilarating, and climactic. So yeah, the Easter egg to this map is pretty good in my eyes. In conclusion, Attack of the Radioactive Thing is a weird map to talk about. The layout, visuals, and one weapon are all pretty boring, but the Easter egg does help it stand out, and this map is really only boring compared to the rest of IW Zombies. On its own, it's still okay, and I'm giving it a 3 out of 5.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Don't worry, doll. This isn't the first time I've handled something this big.
Can this band of unlikely heroes save this small town? And put an end to the attack of the radioactive thing!
The radioactive what?
Thing!
Look, man, we came for one thing, the last piece of that key. And I ain't come all this way to be scared off by Willard's Brain Dead Brigade.
If I'm right, zombies are gonna be the least of our problems in this place.
On September 5th, 2017, the trailer to the final map in Infinite Warfare Zombies dropped, and the map released shortly after. The response to Beast from Beyond still amazes me to this day, since Beast from Beyond is on the surface a lackluster map, but it still managed to go down in Call of Duty Zombies history as one of the most coolest things put into the mode. But what did this map do to still be remembered by most Call of Duty Zombie fans? Does it still hold up to this day? It set a proper send-off to this amazing zombie season. Well, let's begin the final review of the retrospective. First up is presentation. Now, the movie style of this map is that of a modern futuristic sci-fi horror movie, which I think is a pretty cool choice. Having the final map have a modern feel to it is fitting, and the futuristic sci-fi setting shows this map is taking itself slightly more seriously than its predecessors. And the map does successfully pull off that isolated feel. For the most part, you're in an abandoned space facility, and the environment does feel cold and eerie, which is a cool, unsuspecting change to the usual goofy atmosphere. The theater location does kinda ruin that, but having a playable theater area shows how far you and these characters have come on this journey, and it brings a larger sense of finality. So yeah, the tone of this map is dark, cold, and isolated, and it's a fitting tone for the final map in the season. Now time for the map layout. Even though this map is the final map in the season, it's surprisingly the smallest. However, I know I'm gonna sound like a contradicting myself, but I think this map's small size complements it. I know I complained about the size of Shaolin and Attack, but Shaolin took place in a big city, and Attack took place on an entire coast. Beast takes place on an isolated space facility. It makes sense for it to not be too big, and it helps with the atmosphere. I think Beast's size is decent. However, its layout is an entirely different story. I don't think there's anything wrong with the way the map is structured, but we're back to the BO3 days of nearly every area in this map serving as a graveyard on high rounds. Gone are the days you can run around and explore in high rounds, but instead, just like Rave, you're restricted to a few training areas. Well, actually, scratch that, one training area, and it's not a Kino stage for sure. So yeah, while the atmosphere and size are both great, the map is just way too tight. Now let's get into the innovations. Now, one of the coolest things about this map is the return of the Cryptids. Yep, you heard me right. The Cryptids from Call of Duty Ghosts Alien Mode Extinction make a return in this map. I still think I'm the only one on the planet who thinks this is mind-blowing. As a fan of both Extinction and IW Zombies, seeing the two worlds collide gave me the biggest nerdgasm I've ever had and showed just how much love and passion Infinity Ward has to their games and fans, to the point where they'd bring back a game mode with a small cult following from a detested entry in the series to make a return in the finale of the zombie season. While I think Treyarch makes better games, Infinity Ward remains my favorite Call of Duty devs for this reason. Anyways, Cryptids are obviously a sub-boss in this map, and they're handled well. They are still fast and vicious like they were in Extinction, but their health is basically non-existent, which makes them a pretty balanced sub-boss. So with that information, you would think the sub-bosses in this map are balanced, right? Well, Infinity Ward made a decision that is both incredible and stupid, and they went balls to the wall and brought back nearly every single sub-boss featured in the past 4 maps. This map has Cryptids, Clowns, Ninja Zombies, and even the freaking Slasher all in one map. On the bright side, that gives the map an even bigger sense of finality, and it builds variety. The problem? High rounds are broken on this map. On my Shaolin Shuffle portion, I lowered my rating of that map an entire number, mostly due to the fact Ninja Zombies were too broken and made high rounds insanely difficult. So imagine a map of Ninja Zombies, Clowns, Cryptids, and Slashers. It's insane somewhat in a fun way, but it's still insanely broken. On a positive note, on top of bringing back the Cryptids from Extinction, they also brought back the wonder weapon, the Venom X. and it's a really fun weapon to use. You don't run out of ammo on it too often, and it's good for taking out groups of zombies. It's a nice, fun, balanced weapon. So yeah, the return of extinction inside this map is an amazing concept, and it was implemented nicely in terms of enemy types and one weapon. But the returning sub-bosses was also a cool concept, but it broke high rounds on this map, so yay. So no duh, this map is difficult. The layout is cramped and limited, and there's so many different enemy types it might as well be an Exo Zombies map. I'll give Infinity Ward this. I like the fact that the fire map is the most difficult out of the bunch, but I just wish it wasn't broken. Now time to talk about how Beast wraps things up storyline wise. The map begins with Poindexter warning out a group about the cryptid threats and revealing that the extinction maps are all movies made by Willard Wyler, and this map is a rewrite of one map in particular, Nightfall. Can I just say that this is a genius way to incorporate extinction into IW Zombies, and whoever came up with the concept of the map being a rewritten Nightfall set in the future deserves a raise. My only question is, how on earth did Willard go from writing Extinction, a mature, grounded, and complex story about the end of the world, to writing something like Shaolin Shuffle? Willard sure is an experimental director. Anyways, the group arrive at the facility, and believe it or not, Infinity Ward actually gives a proper conclusion to Extinction inside this map, and reveals the humans actually won their battle against the Cryptids, and Samantha is no longer under the influence of the ancestors. I have no idea how that is, since Extinction ended with the entire world conquered by the Cryptids and the retreat of the US forces, but I guess the Avengers finally stepped in once the shawarma shop was shut down. So yeah, while it is a half-baked conclusion, at least fans of Extinction has closure. Back to the IW story, our characters have a battle of two mammoths before collecting the final piece of the soul key. The characters are teleported back to the theater, and Willard is there to greet them, and he seems rather glad to see our characters alive, but before he can get a word out, he's grabbed by Andre and AJ and he's dragged to the screening room. A lot of people say that our characters not listening to what Willard tries to say is stupid, and while it may be frustrating from a viewer's perspective, if you were put into a real-life horror movie where you were forced to fight for your life by an evil man who proceeded to mock you every step of the way, you wouldn't want to hear what he had to say either. They throw him into the theater and he rambles something about innocent souls, impending doom, yada yada yada, who cares, give him a taste of his own medicine, and send him to Spaceland. Finally relieved of their journey of zombie killing, they attempt to get out of the theater only to realize that they have now swapped places with Willard and they're trapped in a theater that isn't even in the same dimension anymore. Now this is obviously not the end of the story, but I'll come back to it. First I'll talk about the Easter egg that leads up to it real quick. Now this Easter egg isn't primitive like Spaceland or Rays, but it's also not super complex like Shaolin or Attacks. It's actually a perfect mix. And the boss fight with the Onslaught, get it, of Cryptids is my second favorite fight in the entire game. It's chaotic and fun. Then you complete the Easter egg and done. But what is the reward for completing it? Well, behold, because you are looking at the only Call of Duty Zombies game besides maybe Black Ops 2 that has a super Easter egg. After completing all 5 Easter eggs, you can use the soul key to open up the soul jar and pack this entire time, and this will give you Director's Cut, a mode that once equipped will start you off with permapurge, 25,000 points, and every mystery wheel weapon packed. That is insane. Not only does this reward hardcore players of the game, but it also encourages so much replayability. It's an amazing reward for completing all 5 Easter eggs, but believe it or not, it doesn't stop there. Once you do all 5 Easter eggs again in Director's Cut and collect 5 talisman instead of soul key pieces, the next time you do Beast Easter egg, things don't stop at the initial outro cutscene. Our characters are greeted by a mysterious figure who reveals himself as Mephistopheles. Yes, the freaking devil. This twist is one that's very unpredictable, yet one that makes sense once you take all the information from the past maps, and his face is on the Fate and Fortune cards, and there were a bunch of references to him beforehand. Mephistopheles tells our characters that they are now his servants.
Hey, look, man, I don't care who you are, but this theater, this place, I ain't never asked for this shit. And I can tell you right now, that Master BS ain't cracking, bruh.
Mephistopheles transforms, and... I present to you the best Call of Duty Zombies boss fight of all time. This fight is a grand scale battle that requires a full concentration and skill in order to prevail through. Mephistopheles has an insane amount of moves that could be game ending if you're not careful enough. But it's not just Mephistopheles you have to worry about. Clowns, the slasher, ninja zombies, and every type of cryptid is present. This fight is amazing. You have to be on point and skilled in order to dodge Mephistopheles' attacks, and the entire experience is heart-racing, exhilarating, and a whole lot of fun. Once defeated, our characters attempt to get out of the theater once more, but it's revealed that every map in this game has taken place inside of a soul jar sitting in the theater this entire time. But things don't end there either. Once you defeat Mephistopheles, you can play Zombies in Spaceland as Willard Wyler. And if you beat the Zombies in Spaceland Easter egg as Willard, you get a final outro cutscene. Yep, nearly a year after the game came out, and Infinity Ward added a outro cutscene in Zombies in Spaceland, a issue everyone complained about all the way back when the game released. I love Infinity Ward. The cutscene is vague, but here it is.
Willard! Now do you understand? This is why I chose each of you. There is much to do. Shall we begin?
And that was the end of IW Zombies. I remember being upset that this game ended with a cliffhanger since I knew deep down they wouldn't continue this mode, but I stayed positive, unaware that 3 years later, Infinity Ward would proceed to make my least favorite Call of Duty game of all time. So yeah, that was the story of IW. While I have nothing concrete, I have a guess as to what the backstory of the game is. See, I think the death of Willard's wife caused him to desperately make a deal with Mephistopheles to make his wife come back to life. So Willard is now a servant who uses his popularity to bait fans into his movies so he can send them into his film so they would die and their soul would go straight to Mephistopheles. However, something goes wrong with the deal and Willard is sent into the soul jar while Mephistopheles transforms as him and continues to use the real Willard's fame to bait unsuspecting victims to their death. This would explain why Willard in the ending acts entirely different than he did as the narrator of the maps. However, before he was banished to a soul jar, Willard did background research on 4 actors capable enough of defeating Mephistopheles and got in contact with the 4 stars. And now that the 4 actors have proved themselves by assembling the soul key, they're now prepared to rebel against Mephistopheles and save all the innocent souls. And they proceed to do so off screen. Well, at least in my headcanon. And that was Beast from Beyond, and I think this map deserves to be remembered. Sure, the map itself is just okay with a great atmosphere and setup process, but it still has a horribly broken balance of sub-bosses. The risk this map takes is extraordinary. The crossover between Extinction and IW Zombies, the insane story twist, and the super easter egg that gives you an entire new mode, Willard Wyler as a playable character, and the best boss fight in Call of Duty Zombies all makes the conclusion to Infinite Warfare Zombies incredible. I would give Beast from Beyond a 5 out of 5 just for all the stuff it gave us, but if I'm being fair, the map is technically a 3 out of 5. You know, there will probably never be anything in Call of Duty as special as Infinite Warfare Zombies. While it does keep the traditional Zombies formula, the amount of risk it takes when it comes to tone, story, and map design is just amazing. And most of the risks paid off well, with Infinite Warfare Zombies containing some of my favorite Call of Duty Zombie maps out there. And this is easily my second favorite Call of Duty Zombies game, and it's one of the best gaming experiences I've ever had. I'm giving Infinite Warfare Zombies a 4 out of 5. Infinity Ward had nothing but love and passion in creating this mode, and I just want to say that because of them, they revived my love for Call of Duty Zombies, and they're one of the reasons why I'm in Apothicon Overlords right now. From the bottom of my heart, Infinity Ward, thank you.